Hi again, and welcome to the continuation of Lecture 3, the International Phonetic Alphabet. So, we are going to go right in and begin describing consonants with the IPA. So, one thing that we will be doing in this lecture is we will be doing something called the phonetic transcription. And transcription is a terminology that we use when we are representing different speech sounds in IPA. So phonetic transcription is going to be one of the goals of this lecture, and you will also be doing some IPA practice for your assignment as well as in your lab section. So you will get lots of practice with writing things into IPA. Each consonant of the IPA can be described in 4 different parameters. The first one is called the manner of articulation. The second is called the place of articulation. The third is called nasality. And the fourth is called voicing. So there are 4 different ways in which you can actually represent a consonant or understand a consonant. What do I mean by the manner of articulation? Manner of articulation refers to how your oral tract is manipulated during the production of the sound. What is the position of the oral tract? What are the different kinds of ways you can understand the oral tract, or the way that the air comes out of the oral tract? This is referred to as manner of articulation. Place of articulation is where the oral tract is manipulated during production of the sound. Is it your teeth that is crucial to the sound? Is it your alveolar ridge that's crucial? Is it your glottis? Is it your larynx, etc.? Nasality has to do with whether the air comes out of the oral passage or your nasal passage, so whether the velum is lowered or raised in the production of sound. Voicing is whether the vocal folds are vibrating during the production of the sound. Let us start with voicing. There are 2 parameters to voicing. The first one is voiced sound, and the second one is voiceless sound. Now, when you produce a voiced sound, you can see that your vocal folds are actually vibrating while the sound is being produced. And when you have a voiceless sound, your vocal folds don't vibrate when the sound is actually produced. So to illustrate this, let us look at the sounds S and Z, written in the small letters S and Z in your square bracket. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to take your arm and I want you to put it in your voice box, and I want you to say along with me, S. Now, do you feel anything? Do you feel any vibration? Most probably not. Now, I want you to do the same thing by putting your arm against your vocal folds and say Z. It sounds like a bee is buzzing by, right? Z. Now you can see that your vocal folds are actually vibrating, and you can feel this vibration when you touch your vocal folds. So this buzzing aspect of the sound Z is what we call as as voiced. So this is the tip, this is the illustration that we just saw. By putting your arm against your vocal folds, you can actually feel the voicing with your fingers. When you produce S, you don't feel any voicing. When you produce Z, you feel that your fingers are vibrating. Here are some more examples, and you can again do the same thing. You can take your arm, put it against your vocal folds and say, and you can see that there is absolutely no vibration. And then you can say, and you can see there's already that vibration. You can see the same thing with the other 2 symbols, and I'm going to write the other 2 symbols here because these may be symbols that you may not have seen. So this is the theta symbol, right? It's called the theta symbol, and this is what we use in words such as thin. And then we have this symbol, which is the, which is the word then. Very often people get confused with the spelling, which is why I said throw the spelling out of the window for the purposes of this class, because they both start with the TH, and it is not useful for us to have any idea of spelling in this class. What we want to know is whether thin and then are produced the same way. And if you do it with your arm against your vocal folds, you know that thin is produced with a voiceless sound and then is produced with a voice sound. So these are the two different symbols that we actually use to represent this. Then we have the sound. I'm just going to turn the page. So this is the symbol sh, right? Sh, 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 as in rush, rush, sh, sh. And then we have the corresponding symbol j, j, rouge, 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 j, 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 right? So it's f, v, th, the, sh, j, right? In my IPA handout that I will post on Blackboard, you will have a list of symbols along with their IPA description as well as an example from English so that you know how to actually say these symbols that you may not have seen before. And here are some more examples. This is a little bit harder, but the distinction is still there. These are the symbols ch, ch, and j. Ch as in jump and j as in jump. Jump, 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 jump. And also differences between b, b, t, d, g, g. And again, these can be a little bit harder and it's easier for men who have a more prominent Adam's apple to feel these distinctions than women. So if you put it into an emphasis kind of context, such as I said bat, not pat, you can actually hear the voicing difference a little better with your hand on your vocal folds. All right, so let's sum up. So voiced sounds are produced with vibration of the vocal folds, and voiceless sounds are produced with no vibration of the vocal folds. And I have given you a list of voiceless sounds in English and voiced sounds in English. I will read through the voiceless sounds first and then the voiced sounds. Voiceless sounds in English are s, f, th, sh, ch, p, t, g. And voiced sounds of English are z, m, th, j, j, b, d, g. All right, so that's voicing. The second parameter that distinguishes consonants is nasality. And nasality has to do with whether your velum is actually in a raised position or in a lowered position. When the velum is in a lowered position, you get a nasal sound, and when the velum is in a raised position, you get an oral sound. So the easy thing about nasality in English is easier to remember the nasal sounds because there are only 3 nasal sounds in English. These are your n, your m, and then you have a third nasal in English that is represented like that. That is your n in English, n as in sing. So there are only 3 nasal sounds in English, and it's easier for you to remember this rather than remember all the other oral sounds because any other sound in English is an oral sound. And for you to understand nasality, the easiest way for you to do this is to put your hand in front of your mouth when making these sounds and you say m, n, n, and there is no air that comes out of your mouth. Whereas when you put your finger underneath your nostril and say m, n, n, you can see that the air is actually coming out of your nose. Like I said, there are only 3 nasal sounds in English. All other phones in English are oral, and all nasal sounds are also voiced sounds of English. So it's a good thing for you to remember that. Now, there are other sounds, there are other languages in the world that have more number of nasals. So language that I speak natively, my mother tongue. It's called Malayalam. It's a South Indian language. We have about 7 nasals, so it's a pretty nasal sounding language, and so very different from English and English type of languages that only have 3 nasal sounds. Let us go ahead into the third parameter that distinguishes consonants in the IPA, and this is the place of articulation. The place of articulation has to do with what is the location in which your tongue is moving to, depending on which you get a particular sound. There are 7 places of articulation in English: labial, dental, alveolar, alveopalatal, palatal, velar, and glottal. Let's see each of these in detail. First is the labial sounds of English. There are 2 subtypes of labial sounds of English, and labial has to do with your lips. So we're starting with our lips and moving all the way back. There could be bilabial sounds of English or labiodental sounds of English. Bilabial sounds of English are produced with the closure of both the lips together. So p, p, m, m. These are bilabial sounds of English. And then you have labiodental sounds of English, such as b, f, b, 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 b. Moving on from the lips to the teeth, the sounds that are produced using the teeth are called as dental sounds. And there are 2 dental sounds that are produced in English. These are th and the. And these are produced by placing the tongue against the teeth. Moving on from the teeth to the alveolar ridge, sounds produced by placing the tongue on the alveolar ridge are called as alveolars. Examples of alveolars are t, t, s, s. Alveopalatal sounds are those produced by moving the tongue to the alveopalatal region, such as ch, ch, j, j. And the palatal sounds are produced by placing the tongue on the hard palate, such as y, y, y. A note with respect to spelling: it's very common for students to confuse the J to be the J sound of English and not the Y sound. But the J sound of English is actually the J, which is written like that, as in jar. And the J sound in the IPA symbol, like in square bracket, refers to the Y sound, like yard. So just a note, it's good for you to remember this. Sounds produced by placing the tongue on the velum are called as velar sounds, such as k and g. Glottal sounds are made by completely or a partially closed glottis, and these sounds are sounds like h, h, h. So the interim summary is that consonants of English can be categorized on the basis of whether they are voiced or voiceless, and whether they are nasal or oral, as well as the places of articulation such as labial, both bilabial and labiodental, dental, alveolar, alveopalatal, palatal, velar, and glottal.